Hello my dear friends, my name is Sanne and welcome back to another beauty video. Today I have another 3 looks 1 palette video for you. I'm really excited about this one because I get to show off my latest addition to my collection, which is the Oden's Eye Christmas Eve palette. That's also why I kept up the Christmas tree for a little longer, because I've been wanting to film with this, and you know, it's the Christmas Eve palette. We have to keep the Christmas vibes going for a little bit, you know. So, Christmas tree, gingerbread candle, it's January, we don't care. We're gonna play with the Christmas Eve palette today. My boyfriend gave me this palette for Christmas, so that is really so sweet of him. I picked the palette up myself, but he gifted it to me. And I'm just really excited about it. I very quickly played with it twice now, and until now I'm enjoying it. So today we're gonna play with it even more, and we're gonna create some looks, and I'm gonna try to create 3 looks that involve in total all of the shades in this palette. So let's have a little look at this palette, shall we? This is the front, which I absolutely love. This is like, I don't know, it feels so over the top and extreme and crazy and for some reason like ugly, but it's also the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's really lovely. It's also a great size. And then the inside features a mirror, and then this absolutely lovely color story. And when I saw this, I was sold immediately. These are just all my favorite colors in one palette. We have blue, we have cool toned neutrals, we have yellow, we have purple. Those are actually all my favorite colors, and green. And I've been so into blue looks and cool toned looks lately. So when I saw this palette, I was just sold immediately and I needed to have it. So my boyfriend gifted it to me, and it's so pretty. I have some swatch pictures for you up on the screen, so you know what the swatches look like. All of these shades feel so creamy, especially the mattes. Like the mattes feel so soft and creamy and nice. And then we have the amazing, beautiful shimmers. And I just can't wait to play with it even more and put more stuff on my eyes. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna do 3 looks for you, of course. And I'm gonna start out with a bit of a simpler look using most of the neutrals. And then we'll just gradually add some color throughout the next few looks. So let's get playing with the Oden's Eye Christmas Eve palette. Okay, so I got you zoomed in so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm first gonna prime my eyes using the Makeup Academy eyeshadow primer. Again, just my usual disclaimer, I do this with every single makeup look that I do on the daily, so it's only fair for the makeup products to be tested on the same base as I usually would use them. So do keep that in mind, this is on an eyeshadow primer. Okay, so for this look we're sticking to the neutrals and we're gonna keep it fairly simple. So first I am going into this shade over here, Ice Crystal, the grey matte. And we're just gonna dip our brush in that. I'm just using a fluffy brush and I'm gonna be applying that to the inner corner of my crease and just try to blend that out nicely. And that is a pigmented, creamy, light grey. Like the fact that it's even showing up this nice on my skin, like with how extremely pale my skin is, you would expect light shades like this to not show up this easily, but this is just so easy, so simple. Oh my gosh. And you can tell how cool toned this grey is. Like this is such a blue toned grey. You can mix this perfectly with all the blue tones in the palette. It's a beautiful grey. And then I'm gonna go over to the cool toned neutral in this palette, this one. And I'm gonna be applying that to the outer corner. And just blend that in with that grey as well. And this one I have used once before and I did have a tiny bit of an issue with it then, so let's see how it's going over here now. Like my eyeshadow primer starts to crease after I've applied it, so right before I apply eyeshadow on top I have to blend it out with my finger again a tiny bit, but it really sticks to the eyeshadow primer, so I forgot to blend the primer out last time and it just stuck to those primer lines and just got really dark around those lines. So maybe this is just a shade that is not made for working on top of an eyeshadow primer. That is also perfectly valid, because you can see it turning quite patchy over here. And since it's stuck so much to the primer, I'm thinking maybe that's the issue. Maybe it is worth trying this like once, like without primer at all. I feel like this one just takes a bit more effort, but again, that might be the primer. And I'm also taking that shade underneath. And of course, remember, sometimes it's the brush's fault, sometimes it's the primer's fault, and sometimes it's actually the formula of the shadow. But also many times, the formula of the shadow just isn't for your way of doing your makeup. Like, the formula isn't necessarily bad, but it's just not the way you do your makeup, for example. Also just gonna apply a tiny bit of that gray matte on the lower lash line. So we do create a bit of a two-toned look. I think that looks cute. Okay, so now that we've applied the mattes, we're gonna get into some shimmers. And first I'm gonna get into this one, Silvery Dream. Or Slivery Dream, like it says. Which is so interesting that they have typos in the names. But, you know. And I'm gonna apply this over here. A bit towards that outer corner. And all these shimmers are so interesting. They're like a tiny bit flaky, but they're so shiny. They're absolutely beautiful. And then I'm gonna get into the shade Wonderful, which is a purple shimmer. I'm gonna apply that right next to that brown. Moving on to that blue a tiny bit. And these apply really nicely with your fingers. And I feel like this one has a bit of a colorless base. It's mainly just the shimmer. It has a translucent base to it, so that is nice. You can literally top it on any type of matte. And then I'm gonna finish it off by adding this silver shimmer, Snowflake. And I'm gonna add that first of all to the inner corner. And then I'm gonna move it upwards, right next to that purple. So this is what we have now. It's very, very simple, very neutral, but I'm just gonna add everything that I want to add to this, finish this entire look up, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, hello, I am back with the finished look. This cool tone purplish neutral is just so good. It's such a good color. I've been so into cool tone neutrals lately, and this is just... Isn't this so cute? I feel really cute right now. Also this lip, perfect match. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in Grim. So yeah, this was look number 1. A bit more of a simple, neutral look to also show like the different sides of the palette. Have like deep glam sides or neutral, simple sides. So the neutral, simple side of the palette, or at least one version of it. We have now used 5 shades from the palette, so we're well on our way to use all 16. So let's quickly get into look number 2. So for this look, I'm gonna get a bit more creative, like shape-wise. And I'm first gonna get into this shade, Night Sky, which is one of the 2 deep blues, but this one is a bit more teal leaning. And I wanna see if I can kind of draw out that green a tiny bit by combining it with the green matte later. So let's get started on that. And I'm just gonna apply that color along the crease, because I wanna make like a cut crease moment. So I'm just gonna stamp on that blue first, and then we'll work from there. And then going into an upwards wing. So this is like approximately the shape we're going for. But of course we'll blend it and we'll play with it and we'll sharpen the edges and whatever. So it will look a lot cleaner in the end. Okay, so now that we have applied the shape sort of, we're gonna go in with a very small fluffy blending brush and this green shade called Just Now. And we're gonna blend that on top of that teal shade we just applied. And I think we just gotta go slightly back and forth between those 2 shades a bit until we have a lovely blend going on. And this is just a process that takes a little while. You just gotta add 1 layer, then add the next, go back and forth a little bit until it looks the way you want it to. And that can take a little while, you know. And we are blending everything outwards. It doesn't matter if it's messy going inwards, because we're gonna clean that up with some concealer soon anyways. I'm gonna go into the next shade, which is this yellow one over here in the corner called Tart. I really don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be called Tart, because also we have Silvery Dream and felting time. So I feel like I don't know if this is an actual word or if this is a misspelling. It's not a word I know, so. But I'm just gonna be applying that yellow right along the edge of that green, which is also gonna give an interesting texture because that yellow is sort of like a satiny shade. It has a tiny bit of a shimmer to it, but only slightly. So it will look a bit shiny in the right lighting. It's a really interesting color. I'm just mainly going back in with that teal shade just to make sure that edge is a lovely deep blue. Okay, so now we have that shape and coloring done. I am gonna carve this out so we can get to the next layers of shades. So I'm gonna grab like a nice small flat brush. You can also use like a cotton bud and already take away a tiny bit. So just with a bit of water or makeup remover or whatever, already take the worst off, just so it doesn't mix with your concealer. And now we have cleaned the worst up already, we can go in with that concealer or eyeshadow primer, whatever you want to use. Okay, we have cleaned up the edges on both sides, so we'll get onto the next shades. And first we're gonna go into this shade called Softly. And I'm gonna be applying that on the outer corner of this wing. Make sure it fills up that wing nicely and evenly. And just make sure you apply that a bit inwards and blend a bit inwards. I must say this shade blends really well, but packing it on is a bit more difficult. It gets a bit uneven. Then we'll get into the next shade. I'm just gonna do this eye first. We're gonna get into Fleeting Time, this shimmer. And we're gonna apply that right in the center of the lid on that cut crease. For me, applying with my fingers works way better. But then you do gotta watch out for like the edges. So I'll do the edges with a brush to keep them clean. And then we'll get into the next shade, which is Snowlight, this light golden shade. I am just gonna lightly apply Fleeting Time across the rest of the lid, just because the final shade we're using is a bit more of a translucent base, and I do want a bit of color going on there. So just so we have a base to work with, we're gonna apply Fleeting Time in that spot. And then to make sure we get that extra bit of sparkle and lightness on the inner corner, I'm going in with my fingers with that lighter shade Snowlight. And I am just gonna apply that same shimmer on the inner corner over here. It's just a really flaky gold. I don't know if you can see very well. Okay, so I think I have all the eyeshadows in place. So I'm just gonna add whatever I want to add to this look, finish it all up, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, I am back with the finished look. And as you can see, I was definitely able to draw out that green out of the teal. And I think this is a really nice combo. I really like it actually. I really did not have much issue blending everything out and making it all seem nice. So these are some shadows that are pretty easy to work with. Like up until now, that's what I'm feeling. So yay. Now we have used 6 more shades of the palette. So let's quickly move on to the final look so we can get use out of all of the shades. Okay, we're gonna get into look number 3 and we're gonna try out all the different shades that we haven't tried yet. And we're finally gonna get into the blues of the palette, so that is fun. So I'm gonna get started by using this deep blue shade, Christmas Eve, and I'm gonna use a dense pencil brush. Of course, I have primed my eyes already, and we're just gonna apply that in a fun way. I'm gonna make a sort of halo look, but I'm also gonna make it a bit winged, I think. So I'm just applying that deep blue shade now in the spots that I wanted, so the inner and outer corner. We're gonna go underneath the eye as well. This one is really pigmented. You only need the slightest dip to create a bunch of pigment here. And next I'm gonna use a brush that is a bit fluffier but still pretty small, so we can, you know, have some control over what we're doing. And I'm gonna go into this shade over here called Nightfall. And we're just gonna use that around those edges. And try and blend out that deep blue, which is pretty easy as you can see. Okay, the matte base is done on both sides. I must say, even though these are deep matte blues, This was pretty easy to blend out compared to some of my other shades in my collection. So this did impress me quite a bit. Okay, so now we're gonna get into all the magical shimmers. So first I'm going into this duochrome one. Don't know if you can see, but when I look at it like this, it seems purple. But straight on, it's a beautiful deep blue. It's a beautiful shade. And I'm just gonna grab some on my fingies. Look how pigmented. And I'm just gonna apply that right next to where we stopped with the matte shade. I'm gonna try to apply a tiny bit on the lower lash line as well. And then we're gonna get into the magical multi-chrome shade. It looks bright purple in this lighting, but it shifts between green and blue and purple, and it's just so stunning. Oh, you can see it well like this. Wow, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So we're just gonna apply that right to the center. Oh, and on my eyes it looks so purple, it's almost leaning red. And then we're gonna get into the final shade that we haven't used yet, which is Blue Eyes, this blue shimmer over here. And of course we're gonna use that as an inner corner highlight. Okay, so we have used all the eyeshadows in this palette, so I am gonna add whatever I want to this look, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I'm back with the finished look. I absolutely love how this look turned out. I am so in love with blues currently, and this palette gives me the perfect amount of blue and cool toned neutrals and whatever, like the perfect amount that I need. And I'm just loving this look. And that shimmer is just gorgeous. I love how it changes color from every angle. It's a bit difficult for me to capture it on camera since I just have one source of lighting. So this is the final look. I'll make a list of all the products that I used down below, so you can check that out as well. Final review of this palette. I've been absolutely loving this palette. I feel like the formula, especially the matte formula, is a tiny bit different from what I'm used to, but it's quite easy to get used to it and learn how to make it work. And I'm just really loving it, and I'm loving playing with this palette because I did the 3 looks in this video, but I've also used it for a few other looks already, and I'm just really enjoying playing with the shades and the shimmers. They are gorgeous. Every single shade in this palette is extremely pigmented. It's just a really nice palette, and like I said, the perfect palette for me right now with all my love for cool toned shades currently. So I don't know, right now it's the perfect palette for me. I absolutely love this palette, really recommend it, and I'm really excited to try out some more Oden's eye products actually, because this was the first Oden's eye product I've ever tried and I absolutely love it, so I really can't wait to try something else of them. So those were 3 looks using the Oden's Eye Christmas Eve palette. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, if you want to see even more from me. My blog, my socials and my gaming channel and everything else you need to know about me is all linked down below, so you can check that out as well. And it's gonna be it for me today. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!